All right, so today we are going to be looking at a product that I think everybody who plans on customizing shoes and specifically airbrushing shoes really needs. So let's go ahead and open this big old box up. So we are going to be taking a look at the Master brand Airbrush Booth, and this one actually has quite a few improvements from the Airbrush Booth that you guys have seen me using over the past couple years. We have 3 LED lights with this one. Now that's super nice because one issue that I've always had with the Airbrush Booth that I've been using for the past few years is that it's really dark, and specifically when we're trying to film in there, it's so dark. Even with a ton of additional external lighting that we bring around the cameras, it's still just working in a dark box. So having these LED strips, which are gonna surround the box, I think is gonna be super helpful. All right, and here is the actual booth itself. So it says it's about 8.5 pounds, portable, nice and lightweight. So here we have our other 2 LED strips. So the instructions they send you for actually putting this together are those super low quality images. Everything's in black and white. So it's not like you can actually see the pieces that they're actually talking about. Everything's pretty small, so the instructions aren't the best, but for actually attaching this LED tube to the top, what you need to do is have this top flap extended up. Then we are going to sort of latch it onto there. And I sort of thought that you were supposed to have this already snapped down, but you want to attach the LED tube first, and then it's going to snap directly down onto these other pieces. Nice little tight fit. And now we're ready for our side LED tubes. So now there's 2 little sockets that we are trying to plug the LED tube into at the top and bottom. There's also a nice little latch which is going to attach directly to this sideboard. So now we have our LED tubes directly attached. I really like how easily all of this went together. Everything snaps into place really nicely. So now we actually have 2 power switches on this booth. One of them is going to be for the lights, and then the other one is going to be for the dual exhaust fans. So funny enough, the instructions actually don't even show you how you're supposed to connect the air hose. Like I said, the instructions aren't the best for a product like this, but there is this one little connector piece. This is gonna go on top of the exhaust here, and this is our connector between the top of the exhaust and the actual air hose. Then we have this clamp, which we need to attach to the bottom of this. This gets tightened with the flathead screwdriver, and this is what's gonna really seal that connection between the top of the exhaust and the actual air hose. So we go ahead, place this down, and now we can attach our air hose into there. And you really want to make sure that you're sort of working it in there using something like a screwdriver or your finger to really work your way around this and get that air hose as far down as possible. And you can see you can get plenty of extension with this piece. Now I do sort of wish that there was an additional clamp onto this connection here also, because this does sort of slip off really easily. So having another little clamp such as that one would be super helpful here. But now let's go ahead, plug her in, and check out how these lights and see how loud a machine like this actually is. All right, let's fire her up. So that's our lighting, and so I'm going to continue to talk sort of at my normal vocal range, and you can sort of see how loud the machine is. It is decently loud, but this is a dual exhaust fan system, so this is really going to suck out a lot of that airbrush spray. This is going to keep everything nice and contained for you, so you don't have to worry about getting any overspray or anything like that on your walls. So this is an upgrade to a lot of the other airbrush machines that are out on the market. What do you think, Jason? I would say this one's about twice as loud as our previous booth, don't you think? Pretty loud, but I think that it's gonna do a lot better job really sucking out a lot of that air. As far as internal dimensions here, you're looking at about 20 inches in width and then about 13 inches in height and depth also. So 20 by 13 by 13. Here we have a size 13 cleat, and you can see there is still plenty of room to work inside of there. And now we have a size 10 Jordan 1, which has a little bit more of that height, but you could still see plenty of room to work. So this is a good size booth. You can actually, even if you needed to, purchase 2 of these and connect them together. So that's a pretty cool option if you had a lot of space to work with, because then you'd be looking at a 40-inch wide booth. Probably not necessary for just working on shoes, but to have that capacity is kind of nice. So here you can see a comparison of the old airbrush booth we were using versus the new one. We have about an additional 4 inches in total length and another inch or 2 in height, but the main difference is going to be where that hose is actually connected. On the newer one, it's connected directly to the top. So if I wanted, I could have this airbrush booth backed all the way up against a wall. But when we take a look at this old one, look at all of this additional length that is added near the rear because the hose is connected to the back. So depending on your workspace and your work situation, this one is a whole lot harder to work with. Just having the hose on top will make a world of a difference. Having those lights is gonna make a big difference because of how dark it actually is in there. So there definitely is some upgrades to the higher cost one. So overall impressions for this airbrush booth is that this is a must-have for any customizer if you really do plan on airbrushing on a consistent basis. You would be extremely surprised how far those fumes and that paint of that overspray will actually go. Even though you think you might just be working on a small shoe right in front of you, that paint will go absolutely everywhere. And if you plan on doing this regularly, you absolutely need an airbrush booth like this. There is some cheaper ones on the market, but some of the upgrades, in my opinion, are really worth it, such as the lighting, specifically if you plan on filming yourself. And you know, we always preach filming yourself for as much content as possible. Having those lights is really gonna help that subject really pop, and those shoes will stay nice and bright. It's no longer gonna be this dark area where it's just kind of hard to see what's going on. And depending on your size is always going to be a huge factor for a booth like this. How's it going to fit in a space that you might be working in? And having that hose on top is an absolute game changer compared to how much space it actually takes up when that hose is in back. Now you're talking about an additional 9 inches or so of space that you need to figure out where you're going to place a booth like that. So overall, super impressed with this booth. This booth is actually made by Master Airbrush Brand. They're a leader, pioneer in the industry. They know what they're talking about when it comes to airbrushing at a model scale like this. So we will have this link down in the description if you're interested in checking it out. Also, feel free to shop around for some of the cheaper options if you're trying to save as much money as possible. We totally understand. Also, guys, don't forget all entries for the DCF Floral Contest will be due July 31st. Super excited to seeing all of those. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Go ahead, give it a like if you haven't already. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you guys in that next video.